A very good morning to all. So, today we will be discussing about the Rowlatt Act and Non-Cooperation Movement by Mahatma Gandhi. So, in the year 1919, the British, they passed a law, and that law was Rowlatt Act, and this act was recommended by a Rowlatt committee. So, there were members in that committee and they recommended this Rowlatt Act in the year 1919. So, here Act means law, and the president of that Rowlatt committee was Sir Sidney Rowlatt, and on his recommendation this law was passed, and the name of the law is Rowlatt Act. Now, let us understand the meaning of this Rowlatt Act. So, it was an act that was passed by Britishers in Delhi on 21st March 1919, and this law was passed to have a control on the political activities of Indians against the British rule. So, at that time there were many protests and movements. So, to have a control on these activities of the Indians, the Britishers, they passed this law, and the name of the law is Rowlatt Act. Its original name was the Anarchical and Revolutionary Crime Act, but popularly it is known as Rowlatt Act. Now, why was this Rowlatt Act passed? This Rowlatt Act was passed to increase the grip or hold of the Britishers on the common people of India, to stop them to begin any political activities against the Britishers. So, here according to this law, the Britishers were free to arrest anybody who suspected of any political activities against the British rule without any trial and conviction. So, what do you understand by conviction? Conviction means the final decision of the court that someone is found guilty of a crime. So, here after passing of this Rowlatt Act, the court was not able to take decision on the arrest of a person, that is, the arrest was right or wrong. So, the Britishers were free to arrest any Indians suspected any political activities against the Britishers. So, this act gave immense power or huge power to the Britishers, because they were free to arrest any Indians, and this law also gave the power to the Britishers to arrest any Indian for up to 2 years in jail without trial and conviction. That means they arrested people were not presented in the court, and this law also gave the power to the Britishers that they were free to search any place without any warrant. So, they were free to go to any place, any house, and they have that freedom to search that place without any warrant. So, this Rowlatt Act also controlled the Indian press. So, at that time these Indian press, they spread lot of ideas of gaining freedom. So, after passing of this Rowlatt Act, the freedom of Indian press was suppressed by the Britishers, and they were not allowed to publish anything against the Britishers. So, these were the powers given to the Britishers through this law, that is Rowlatt Act. And with the passage of this act, the Britishers, they started to arrest many Indians, and due to this arrest, the Indian National Congress, it opposed it, and the act began to be known as the Black Act by the Indians. To protest against this law, a national-wide hartal was called by Gandhi ji on 6th April 1919, and Mahatma Gandhi called for a satyagraha. So, we have already discussed that satyagraha was a method of protest based on truth and non-violence. So, Mahatma Gandhi called for a satyagraha, that means an appeal for truth. So, this was about the Rowlatt Act. Next, we will discuss about the non-cooperation movement that was launched between the year 1920 to 1922. This non-cooperation movement was organized by Mahatma Gandhi, and the concept of this non-cooperation movement emerged or came up on the basis of a book that was written by Mahatma Gandhi, and the name of the book is Hind Swaraj, and it was published in the year 1909. So, according to Mahatma Gandhi, the British rule was established in India only because of the cooperation of the Indians. So, if the Indians they refuse to cooperate with the British, then the British rule will collapse within a year and we would gain independence. So, this ideology of Mahatma Gandhi was accepted by all the Indians, and it inspired lots of Indians to participate in gaining independence of our country and to fight against the Britishers. Now let's discuss how the people they participated in the non-cooperation movement. So here Mahatma Gandhi he urged people not to pay taxes. Now you all know that at that time the local farmers they were forced to pay taxes even though they were drought or flood. So now through this movement Mahatma Gandhi urged the people not to pay taxes to the Britishers. As a result of this non-cooperation movement, the students they started leaving the British schools, colleges and institutions. Even the teachers, lawyers, they started to resign from various institutions and offices. Next one, the common people, they also supported Mahatma Gandhi and his non-cooperation movement by boycotting of foreign goods. So here boycotting means refusing to use the foreign goods, and foreign clothes were burnt in huge bonfires. Next, the political parties. So at that time there were many Indian political parties in India and elections were held at that time, and these parties they used to take part in that elections. So there were Indian representatives who were elected through this election, but here the representatives were not given full power to take any decisions on any issues. All the final decisions were taken by the Britishers. So they also, that means these political party also supported non-cooperation movement by boycotting the elections that were held. Many rallies were also organized and various workers they went on strike in railways, post office and other offices. Even the shops were closed. So these were the ways through which the people of India they participated in non-cooperation movement. Next, we'll discuss about the economic impact of non-cooperation movement. So we saw that the common people they supported this non-cooperation movement by boycotting foreign goods and foreign clothes. So we have also discussed that these machine-made goods were imported to India. So after boycotting these goods, the import of foreign goods, foreign clothes reduced by 50%. Even the Indian traders, they refused to buy these foreign goods and foreign clothes from the Britishers, and they refused to sell them in the Indian market. So because of this boycott, the import of foreign clothes reduced by 50%, and this was a huge loss to the Britishers. And because of boycotting of this foreign clothes, there was increase in the production of khadi. So khadi was produced in India, and this production it increased the number of Indian industries and factories in India. With the support of lot of Indians, this movement, that is non-cooperation movement, became a big challenge to the British rule. But the movement could not be continued for a long run. Now let's see few limitations of this non-cooperation movement. As we have already discussed that there was increase in the production of khadi. The production of khadi was more expensive than the British goods because the production of khadi involved manual labor, that means human power. So we need many workers to produce this khadi products. But British goods were machine made goods. That's why khadi was very costly as compared to the British goods. So the Indians, they could not boycott this machine made goods produced by the Britishers for a long run. Next limitation is the boycott of British institutions, schools and colleges, because at that time there were no Indian institutions, no Indian schools, no Indian colleges. So they started to join the British schools, colleges, and the people also started to join offices. So this was the second limitation. Now the third limitation was the non-cooperation movement was officially withdrawn or taken back by Mahatma Gandhi in the year 1922, because here some Indian protesters or the Indian members of non-cooperation movement on 5th February 1922 became violent and they clashed with the British policemen at Chauri Chaura in Uttar Pradesh, and in this incident 22 policemen were dead. So Chauri Chauraha is a place in Uttar Pradesh state. Now this violent act was against the principles of Gandhiji. So we know that he followed truth and non-violence. So Gandhiji took responsibility of this violent act and he stopped the non-cooperation movement. So we can say that end of the non-cooperation movement was in the year 1922. And after this, Mahatma Gandhi and thousands of people were arrested by British. So we discussed about the Rowlatt Act and non-cooperation movement in this class. That's all for today. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you.